Welcome back to the Max Podcast, episode number 7. This is a special episode for multiple reasons. First and foremost, this is going to be a solo episode. Max apparently has enough to talk about, and so I am going to do a solo episode today and talk about some interesting, crazy stuff. First and foremost, this is my new condominium, and by new, I mean new to me. I did not purchase this. It's a lease, and it's near Atlantic Station, and it's been something I've been dreaming of for a very long time, and after some intense, lengthy negotiations, we are here as a leaseor of this beautiful condominium that allows me to look out at my city here in Atlanta and go, wow, this is cool, this is inspirational, these buildings are fantastic. And it allows you to grow a level of appreciation for construction and development and ideas and creativity, because when you look at all of this stuff from 450 feet in the air, all you can really do is feel grateful to be alive and to be a part of all this. It's really an incredible opportunity here on planet Earth. And I can tell you, for a very long time, I didn't want to be here on planet Earth. And by that, I mean, I hated my life. And I am getting real with you guys today. Podcast episode number 7. We're going to get to some harsh stuff that is not taboo, but it's tough to talk about for a lot of people. And overall, the main topic here is going to be cancer. Now, why cancer? Cancer is truly an epidemic across the United States of America, but not only that, the globe. The number of cancers that are out there, the way they affect people's lives, and their aggressive nature is absolutely detrimental and terrifying from a life standpoint. We want people to live. We want people to thrive. We want people to live their best lives and pursue their dreams. And cancer, unfortunately, takes that opportunity away from a lot of people way too soon. They're removed from this earth for reasons that both you and I will not be able to articulate specifically, but I can tell you that it's really unfortunate. And I had a huge mental shift as I've now begun the tail end journey of beating cancer. So I'll talk kind of about my story, but I do want to broach the topic as a whole. Cancer really stems from multiple things compounding, which lead to an aggressive form of disease. First and foremost, you have to have a weakened immune system, okay? A weakened immune system then allows your body to become susceptible to disease. And so, first and foremost, there are external factors and internal factors, and the way you treat your body adds up, and it can weaken your immune system. Usually when cancer invades the body, it's because your immune system is so weak, it has no ability to fight the cancer off. So, first and foremost, it comes back to the immune system, or it starts with the immune system. Secondly, there are predispositions in people's genes and their makeup individually that allow them to be, or more so, unfortunately, allow them to be predisposed to catching or contracting, or more so, living a life that then invites the cancer into their world. Now, it's never intentional. I would imagine not many people out there are going, wow, I would love to get cancer. And I wish that nobody who views this does have it, and I wish that nobody who views this will ever have it, because it's intense. It really is. But on that same note, I can sit here today in this condominium and tell you it's the best thing that has ever happened to me in my life. Why can I say that with such conviction? I can tell you that for multiple reasons. One, it humbled the shit out of me, in the sense that I was one of those people walking around every day going, I'll never get cancer. Man, must really suck for people who have cancer. So it's a tough topic, because in all truth, I thought I was one of the people who would never get it. And here I am on the tail end of it, and I hereby command the remainder out of my body, and it will be gone soon enough. We're at 95+% finished. But I can tell you that there's so many factors that come into play to set your body up to be susceptible to this specific aggressive disease. Let's take some of the staples. Health. What does that look like? If you're a couch potato, like I was for a long time because I was working my ass off in my business, if you're a couch potato, you are not moving toxicity out of your body. What does that look like? Quite literally, you have a lymphatic system, and your lymphatic system is a network of lymph nodes that catch and filter out and push out, they excrete toxins. That is why the lymphatic system is exceptional. However, the only stipulation for it to do its job, excuse me, is for you to move. And that is on a daily basis as often as possible. No, I'm not talking about weightlifting. Yes, I'm talking about going on a walk, going for a jog, doing jumping jacks, jumping rope. Things like that will get your body moving its lymphatic system so that it can do exactly what it was intended for, and that is to push junk out of your body. Now, that is only one detoxification element that your body possesses. So first and foremost, your lymphatic system. If you're not moving it, you are likely building up a collective group of toxins that can both weaken your immune system, but also start to eat away at you from the inside. So you need to move every day. Food choices. Food choices are next. And what that looks like is if you're buying convenience, like I did for many years, because you're stressed and you have so many things going on that you don't have time to cook yourself a good, healthy, nutritious meal, then I can assure you, you are on the wrong track. What does it look like to remediate that, to provide the remedy to yourself? Allotting chunks of time that are non-negotiable to practice good health. And by that, I'm referring to literally, you could go to the gym, you could go on a walk, you could then plan your meal shortly thereafter, but you need to look for things that are organic and have a minimum, or more so, a minimal amount of bad junk in them, like added hormones to help a chicken grow faster or a cow produce more meat. Those are real considerations that come into play here, and I don't care who you are, I can assure you it is multi-factor, it is multi-element when it comes to this discussion. So, like I mentioned just a second ago, stress is another thing that needs to be considered. And stress will be the number one fastest way to weaken your immune system. That is my personal opinion. None of what you're going to hear today is medical advice. I'm not a doctor. I do not have my PhD, much less literally having finished college. I did a year of school, I dropped out. That was the right path for me in the long run, but I can tell you it sucked in the short run for sure. But stress is a killer, a killer, a killer. Look at some of the biggest names out there who have died from cancer. And by biggest names, I'm referring to people that are multi-hundred millionaires, billionaires, people whose health is eventually lost. And by the way, when it's gone, all the money in the world can't fix you overnight or on the spot. There is no credit card swipe, stripe thing that allows you to literally pay a fee and eliminate harsh disease from your life. You can't do it. It's not possible. It's about the compounding effects over time. And sure, you can reverse it, and that's going to be part of this conversation, but I can definitely tell you that you cannot instantaneously remove it from your life just because you have money. It's not a thing. But stress is a killer, and I think that the remediation of that, or more so the path to avoid stress, is carving out more time for yourself. And what you're going to continually hear me harp on today is you have to make time for your health and prioritizing your body and your mental clarity. And so to eliminate the stress component, what that might look like is literally going to the gym. And so some of these even cross over to the other category. going to the gym, going to the sauna, which is another great way to get toxins out of your body, doing a cold plunge, waking your body up, feeling alive, going on a walk, going on a run, stretching, meditating, yoga. Those are all really good things that A, take time, so you're going to have to carve out the time for yourself, but B, they are tremendous for you regaining control of your life and eliminating stress. Stress is a huge factor. Environmental toxins are very real. That's the next thing we need to talk about, and it's unfortunate that we have to, but it's very real. The big companies out there, I hate to say it, they don't give a shit about you. What does that look like? That looks like literally trying to sell you products so full of shit that in reality, if they're not thinking about the fact that they're giving, or more so contributing, to this nation's and world's epidemic of cancer, then I can tell you they're morally corrupt, or more so they're completely, of course, indifferent, but they're unaware of the impact they're having on humanity. And not everybody is self-aware. Not everybody is self-aware, and as a matter of fact, as I say that, I could tell you most people are not self-aware. So at first, before any of this is even possible, it truly does come back to being self-aware, or more so being able to become self-aware in the long run. If you're not there today, that's okay. There's things that you can do to improve on becoming more self-aware so that you can address all of these different elements in your life. You have to be able to zoom out and look at your life, your body, your health, your daily habits, and articulate, is it good for me? Is it bettering my life? Is it breaking me down? Is it removing my immune system's ability to do its job? And to all of those things, the answer becomes, it depends. It depends on you, your self-awareness, and your ability to diagnose all of these high-level issues that can contribute to cancer. But cancer is, again, just one of many diseases out there in the first place. So stress, environmental toxins, movement, and what you consume on a daily basis, the literal food, those are all big staples that can contribute to disease and weakening your immune system. It'd be helpful if I had a notepad here, but I don't need you to grab one. I should have taken notes before. Do a clap noise for yourself. So, environmental toxins. Let me give you my exact scenario. My exact scenario looked like this. For more than half a decade, for probably 7 years, I was blasting Roundup. And honestly, it's probably a decade or more because that doesn't even factor the high school experience. And I say Roundup as a specific brand, but I can also tell you that I am not calling out Roundup specifically. I'm simply bringing to light the fact that glyphosate is an active ingredient in that product, but it's also an active ingredient in many herbicides out there. Glyphosate is great at weakening your immune system and making you susceptible to disease. Now, there is debate on this topic, and so I have to point out the fact that you are allowed, and more so I would strongly encourage you to do your own research so that you can find out all of the facts and understand whether or not you agree with what I'm talking about. What I can say is that the parent company of Roundup, Bayer, is currently paying out somewhere around $7 to $11 billion for at least 100,000 cases of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma that supposedly stem from the application of a product that contains glyphosate. So, in short, what I'm saying is this is not medical advice. Do your own research. But number two, environmental toxins are very real and they're around us everywhere. You don't have to literally be spraying the product to weaken your immune system. You could be going on a walk at the park And this is a very real thing. They may be blasting that chemical everywhere. And as a matter of fact, they may have not put up a sign that says, careful when wet, or careful, we just did an application. And so in reality, they're liable for that. But I can tell you that you're going to have to figure this out yourself. If you go walking down a beautiful golf course and you look to the left and you look to the right, and you have a ton of brown vegetation, yellow vegetation, that's usually a sign that a severe chemical was just sprayed there. But if you breathe that in and it gets in your lungs, that could be detrimental. If you walk in it barefooted accidentally, the feet are one of the main absorbers in your body. That could be detrimental. And granted, single visit exposure is not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about repeated exposure to all of these things. And by the way, glyphosate is just one of so many environmental toxins that are out there. You could breathe in smog because it's smoggy in a city one day, and that is an environmental toxin. You could be driving with your windows down behind an old deleted diesel truck, and it could be blasting black smoke out, and your windows are down. That is an environmental toxin. These things are not intended for the human body. Now, I can tell you, God, the higher power, whatever you want to articulate that as, gave you the ability to eliminate toxins as a whole. So, with that in mind, you need to be doing things that help your body eliminate toxins. If you are on top of that, you are way better off than, let's say, a couch potato who eats only out of convenience, junk food full of more chemicals, and then they're not using their lymphatic system to its best ability to filter out toxins, nor are they sweating, nor are they doing these other things that will help them eliminate and push out the junk that is within their body. Now, I'm going to wrap that part of this up and lead that into what I have been dealing with for quite a while. I'm attempting to keep this around the 30 to 40 minute mark, and I'm going to try and do that today. I do have a timer in front of me. So, I was diagnosed with stage 3 Hodgkin's lymphoma. Now, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is what is directly attributable to glyphosate according to certain perspectives in the health world out there. You'll be able to find that on the internet. Again, it is highly debated. However, there are certain instances like class action lawsuits that, to me, scream the truth, but that is up for both debate and for you to decide yourself. I was diagnosed with stage 3 Hodgkin's lymphoma. Now, the way they diagnose is simply by doing what's called a PET scan. A PET scan is when you go under a scanning machine after having been injected with basically a sugary substance that goes directly into your veins, and it is called contrast, non-contrast, specifically contrast in this case, and that sugary toxic substance gravitates toward cancer. Because what is cancer like? It loves sugar. It loves glucose. So it gravitates with contrast toward the cancer. So then a oncologist or a doctor who knows what they're looking for can look at a PET scan and go, there it is, there it is, there it is, there it is. Here's a tumor. Here's a more serious problem where it's all spread out. They can look at a PET scan and provide you with that further diagnosis, or they can articulate once they see that PET scan. So I was technically diagnosed stage 3. However, the only reason I was not diagnosed stage 4 was simply because they recommended another PET scan to verify. The difference between stage 2, 3, 4 is simply how many appendages is it affecting. Is it below the waistline? Is it above the waistline? They basically categorize it in that way. How affected is your body? So in reality, I had stage 4, but I didn't go for the verification PET scan that pointed out specifically, yes, it is stage 4. So whatever, that's not here nor there. The point is that I was then diagnosed with a plan of action. How do I get going? So I met with my oncologist and they said, here's the remedial approach. It's going to be 12 treatments every 2 weeks for about, 4 months, 5 months, something along those lines. And at the halfway mark, we're going to do another PET scan to be able to track your progress. So when you go in to get, depending on what type of cancer you have and what your oncologist is recommending, you will go and you will sit in a chair and they will connect to one of two things. One, you will have already had what's called a port installed in your body. and that is a literal plastic device that taps into one of your main jugular veins in your body so that they can deliver the medication as quickly as possible when they are providing you with, let's say, chemotherapy and immunotherapy. So that literally looks like going to the hospital and sitting in a very comfortable chair, them tapping in with an IV that is chemotherapy and immunotherapy, and they customize the drug specifically to you based on your oncologist's recommendations, or more so the protocol that they have set forth to say, hey, here's what my client needs to be doing. So your oncologist will not deliver the drugs to you. They will customize the protocol. The hospital will then mix the concoction, which becomes basically an IV bag or multiple IV bags in my case, and they will then feed those to you systematically with saline in between to flush between each of the doses. So you sit there in a chair. For me, it's somewhere around 3 hours of actual IVs, but in reality, it's about 5.5 hours because they have to draw blood and they have to submit samples to the lab to say, hey, is this person even suitable for today's chemotherapy and immunotherapy? And a lot of times it's not. If you're an elderly person whose health has already been severely beat down and the cancer has almost taken you out, you might not be healthy enough to be able to take that chemotherapy, that immunotherapy. Because unfortunately, as advanced as we are in medicine, chemotherapy, for example, is non-selective. So what that means is, sure, it's going to beat the hell out of cancer, but it's also going to beat the hell out of your body. Now, what that leads me to is integrative medicine. First and foremost, Dr. Gazzagoli with Progressive Medical Center saved my life. And by that I mean I came to him with a whole bunch of symptoms that I could not figure out. Among them, intense brain fog, complete lethargicness, zero energy, and intense night sweats. And when I say that, I mean literally woke up or would wake up and feel like I had jumped in a pool. That was the extent and severity of those night sweats. So I went in thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to have all of these problems and I'm going to have to go see all of these doctors. Well, I grew up going to church with Gazzagoli's family and Progressive Medical Center family, of which, by the way, he's owned that practice for 26 years now. And the reason he started it, in short, was because his father had cancer and died after a certain term, and he believes that the chemotherapy was kind of the thing that unfortunately finished him off, in the sense of just finished off his health, because chemotherapy was so aggressive and his body was not suitable or more so prepared for the severity of the treatment. Now, I don't know exactly what his father had or what specific chemotherapy blend, if any chemotherapy, but I believe it was chemo. Point is it was a lot of harsh drugs that simply really beat up his body. So that's why he started Progressive Medical. And what they do is integrative medicine. And there's multiple modalities. They're called modalities, but what they are is simply different things like hyperbaric chamber, like all natural IVs, hydrogen inhalation, PEMF mats, different things, and you can look all of those up. And I'll do another podcast that dives into integrative medicine specifically, because there's just so much on all of these topics, and I'm trying to deliver this in a time frame, both because I'm hosting a dinner tonight, but also because I think we need to get to the facts. And the facts, well, and I do also have to say, again, this is not medical advice, so you can take it for what it is, but it's my experience. So integrative medicine has been just as important as the oncology that I've been going through, because it has helped me beef up and improve the strength of my immune system. So when I go, I do a hyperbaric chamber for an hour. Then I do one of 3 IVs. One is called super immune. And then the other 2 are curcumin and high-dose vitamin C. So all of those are vitamins and minerals and natural healing methods that deliver to the body via IV so that you can have maximum absorption. Again, along with that, PEMF mat, which is electronic pulses that help reduce systemic inflammation throughout your body. Hydrogen inhalation. They put these, there's a machine that basically bubbles water and it produces hydrogen that you then breathe in. And so I'm doing all of these different things, and I'm doing that on a weekly basis no matter what. Now, that, I believe, is what has allowed my body to be so receptive to the chemo and immunotherapy. But I will also say, here's what's going for me. I'm only 30 years old, and your body's ability to recover is absolutely fantastical at that young of an age. So that is in my favor. Now, if somebody's 80, 85, 70, 75, and they don't go to the gym, they've ate like shit for a lot of years, and they beat the hell out of their immune system, their body is almost ready to just give up. And a lot of them do. A lot of them cannot make it through the chemotherapy, not necessarily because they die, though that in part is what happens in some cases, but their body is simply unsuitable. And so they are less receptive and they get many more terrible symptoms that come with chemotherapy. And again, chemotherapy is just one of many remedies for cancer, and it totally depends on what type of cancer you have. So, I am 8 treatments finished of 12. I was severely considering quitting chemo altogether because of its impact on my body. And by that, I'm referring to my oncologist initially told me when we got this started that I might lose all of my hair. And as you can tell, I have all my hair now, and I'm still only 67% of the way technically through chemotherapy. They also said infertility was a huge risk. And if I wanted to preserve my sperm, I should do that at the beginning. Now, let me share real quick my thought on that. Why would a sickly person go preserve his sickly sperm from his sickly body to then have a sickly child later on because I end up losing my fertility? To me, that doesn't make sense. And I'm sure most people don't think of it that way. But it seems like I would be setting my child or future bloodline up for failure by attempting to procreate at a time, or more so with the sperm that was in my body, when I was extremely unhealthy. And by that, I mean on the way toward death. You know, if I hadn't gone in when I did, I would probably be dead at this moment, or not even necessarily that, but real soon, like I would just have continued to wither. You could ask any of my close friends. I went on a couple of trips. One of them was my 30th birthday party that my dad put on for me. All of my close friends were there, and they were like, bro, now that you're on the other side of this, I just have to tell you, we were scared shitless. You looked rough back then at your 30th birthday party, which, by the way, was in February of this year. I got down to 165 pounds. I looked like a stick. And on the high end, let me share with you how unhealthy I was before. A couple years prior, I was 235 pounds. So that's a broad spectrum, and I was losing weight rapidly. Had no energy to go to the gym, had no desire to get off the couch. I was hurting all the time. And another red flag for me had been I couldn't sleep for more than a year and a half consistently. So not only was I waking up with night sweats, but I had such radiating back pain at all times that I thought life is not worth living. It truly isn't, because if you can't sleep and you compound that with health problems, you get to a dark place. Sleep is critical, and I still am not getting enough of it, but I can tell you that when you don't have pain, you're able to sleep more, and that's probably obvious. So when I went in, Gezagoli ended up not fully diagnosing me because they're not allowed to do it that way. You do have to go through the protocol with an oncologist and a PET scan to verify it, but he basically said, this does not look good. I have an inkling as to what the problem is. I have multiple doctors on staff that I've consulted with. We do have an inkling about what's wrong, but I need you to go to an oncologist. Well, that was basically what pointed to the fact that I was probably shortly thereafter going to be diagnosed with cancer, which sure as shit I was. So fast forward to now. I have beat 95+% of the cancer, but I'm only 67% of the way through treatments. And I do plan on finishing those out here very soon over, let's call it the next 8 weeks, which would be September and October. And then I hope by November I'm good to go so that I can get the port out of my chest, that plastic absorption device for IVs, so that I can go skydiving again. I have a passion for skydiving, and it allows me to live my life to the fullest and to be thrilled about life. And I have missed out on that for pretty much a year, because leading up to the diagnosis, I was feeling like crap and I didn't want to go skydiving. I did from time to time, but I had no energy, no motivation. I would go do 1 or 2 jumps and I would be completely kaput, just absolutely, dead on an energy front. So I'm looking forward to getting back to that. But I'm about to finish out chemotherapy. Now let me explain to you why the stars have aligned. I was getting kicked in the dick, as I like to describe it, for more than a decade in my business. And my business is landscaping. I started it when I was 18 years old. I dropped out of college. I realized college was not for me because that learning environment was not suitable for me. And I am a hands-on visual, do it, mess it up kind of a learner. And trust me, I messed many things up over the years, especially the last decade. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that it's about making those mistakes one time and then moving forward with the lesson being implemented in your life as a principle that you can then adhere to. But also, as I've gotten smarter, I've realized that you should observe other people, especially high-level people that you want to be like, and listen to them about what mistakes they have made in their lives and how they would guide their younger selves or how they would improve it. And even if they don't specifically say that, you can consume a lot of content and reach your own conclusions about how they pivoted to make sure that, they were able to care for their health. So I'm on the tail end of cancer. Life has been very incredible in these last 60 days. Call it 90 days at the most. But God has been just aligning things for me in my life. And I must say that I am a man of principle and morals, and I do believe in karma now. In the past, I did sort of know those things, but I also did not have a list of like, these are my non-negotiables in life. Here's what I'm ready to ride for. Here's what I don't appreciate. Here's what I will never allow in my space. And as I've gotten older, especially this year specifically, I've realized that I'm putting a lot of good out into the world. I don't even believe in white lies. Like, I believe that any little thing like that will come back to bite you. And as Earl Nightingale would say, it comes back as a boomerang. Life is a boomerang, and you're either about to catch that thing because you put good intent out, or it's going to come back full circle, and you don't know when or to what severity level, but it's going to knock the shit out of you when that boomerang comes back. So you can throw a good boomerang, you can throw a bad one. That is going to determine the outcome of that boomerang and that karma, that goodwill or lack thereof that you are putting out into the world via your energy and your life. So I'm going to finish up chemotherapy. There's a couple of things that I want to talk about today, and then I'm going to wrap this up as soon as I can. First and foremost, after having gotten kicked in the dick for a decade, I was broke, man. And broke is subjective because sure, there was some cash flow, but I wasn't paying myself. And I really have only paid myself maybe twice this year, even in 2026. And I'm going to get on the payroll at a very reasonable salary moving forward for the business. But I can tell you that I was not paying myself. So two things. One, life was really sucking at the beginning of the year because we were like, uh-oh, Max can't even now work. He's not even going to be able to pay for rent. And so, I would be able to, but I wasn't able to work. Or more so, everybody was telling me I wasn't going to be able to work. And I listened to them. Everybody stressed how serious cancer was and the severity of the symptoms and all that. And they're like, you will be immobilized, basically. Well, I took that for face value, or more so, I believed everybody. And we then created a GoFundMe. Okay, so we created a GoFundMe so that I could have the money to pay rent and support my life, pay doctors, and do different things that specifically were related to my health and my survival. Now, we laid that out very clearly on GoFundMe. That was what the money was for. So let me share a couple of quick things on that front. We raised 50 grand in about 2 weeks. All sorts of good humans came out of the woodwork, both in the sense that people I hadn't talked to in a decade were donating, or people that were currently in my life were also donating, referring people to the GoFundMe, pushing all of their efforts towards my success in my health and my life. And that at that time meant raising money for the GoFundMe. So now today, in tail end of August 2026, I have only spent approximately 12 or 10,000 of the 50,000 that was raised. Why? Because I was reacting to chemotherapy with, let's call it 3 to 4, maybe 5 bad days in a week, in the sense that I was hurting, but I also have that dog in me, and I was getting up and I was going to work and I was figuring out life, still keeping the money coming in. Because again, like that's just how I'm programmed. I built a strong work ethic starting at 12 years old when I borrowed my dad's lawnmower to go begin making money. They said, "Hey, you want money?" I said, "Yeah." They said, "Well, we're not going to give it to you. You're going to have to earn it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Well, what did I enjoy doing at the time? I enjoyed mowing my own grass for my parents because it was fun. And so that was the natural next extension. It was borrowing dad's lawnmower to be able to go cut grass and make some money. 20 bucks at a time, a shitty mowing job, bad edging, terrible blowing. I mean, it was not good, but I'm sure my parents were at least telling the neighbors, "Hey, please exercise a little restraint. It may not look that good, but he's committed to what he's doing. He's not going to charge you much money at all. Let's give him a shot." So we did that, and that led me to today. But what I want you to know is that the GoFundMe money is protected by my dad, my father. He is the trustee, quote unquote, and this is not a formal thing, but when I was told, "Hey, Max, we really think you should do a GoFundMe," they explained why. I was initially hesitant because I don't like to be handed anything. And that stems right back to why I started my company in the first place, is because I had to learn how to make money on my own without the help of other people. And granted, I've had help all along the way, for sure. But there's never been, "Hey, Max, here's $1 million. Here's 500 grand. Here's $250,000 to go do what you want to do." Nobody's ever given me that. So I had to exercise work ethic that led to me making money. And I just realized this year that I was actually going to be able to operate to some extent. And so I've been operating and I've been hustling my ass off, even with the cancer. So something happened in the sense that I have simply beefed up my drive because I was like, well, after a decade of getting kicked in the dick, I think this is kind of icing on a shitstorm cake. And what's one more task? What's one more thing to get through after a decade of doing this shit? Let's do it. So I never fully accepted the fact that I had cancer, and I still don't. It's hard for me to even acknowledge the journey that I've been on because truly I just never let it soak in, because I think that the woe is me approach, boo-hoo, is never going to get you anywhere. And granted, there are severe cases of cancer out there, and I am not saying that should be system-wide by any means. But in my case, 30 years old, cards are in my favor if I simply start to put in the work. And so I said, it's time to lock in. And I never accepted the fact that I had the cancer. And again, I still don't, and I hereby command it out of my body. I know it'll be gone soon enough. But I've been able to afford most of my bills without having to do anything with the GoFundMe. As a matter of fact, I have not asked for a single dollar from my dad, who controls the GoFundMe, to pay my rent or to do anything on that front. So I've been able to afford most of my bills on my own without anybody, and I do mean pretty much all of the bills. The only things that I have not been able to pay for myself are these big lump sums like for integrative medicine. And so just as an example, I think 10 to 12K in, which by the way is insane relative to the oncology cost. Northside Hospital is trying to bill me $1.15 million for 12 treatments, which is beyond comprehension, at least to me. Our healthcare system is so broken. But what is awesome about Northside Hospital at the same rate is they approved me for 100% financial assistance. So not only did my friends and family and good-natured people who didn't even know me show up on the raising 50 grand front for my GoFundMe, but Northside Hospital literally granted me 100% financial assistance. And again, it's because I haven't been paying myself. I truly have been living off of very minuscule distributions from my business and just reinvesting. And I've done that for a long time. I've maybe taken 5 payrolls in my whole career, which is a terrible idea, and I do not advise anybody to do it. But in my case, it worked out because all in all, that then allowed me to get approved for 100% financial assistance through Northside. So thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for the timing and the divinity and the graciousness that he has granted me, he, she, whatever it may be. Because without these elements all coming together with perfect, flawless, divine timing, I would not be sitting here in this chair today. So integrative medicine is probably 50% of the battle for me, or more so 50% of the good fight. 50% I attribute to classic oncology, Northside Hospital, and their ability to grant me 100% financial assistance, which, by the way, there are still things that I am going to have to end up paying for, like a specialist doing the PET scan and things like that. So, well, we have only spent 10 or 12 grand of the 50. A lot of that, maybe another 20 or 15 at least, is about to go toward the specialists that are brought in through Northside to facilitate all of these remediations for the cancer. So my dad's looking out for the GoFundMe money, and we will continue to preserve and protect it with all good intent, and we will not misspend a single dollar of that. And if it gets to a point where there's a certain amount of excess in it, I'm going to approach all of my friends and family and network and say, hey guys, here's a poll. How would you like me to use this money? Donate it to a charity, donate it toward a cancer cause. We'll get to that point if there's anything left, because we have not been handling the bills as of yet. We will be addressing all of that really soon, but for now, I'm taken care of. And I want you guys to realize how incredibly grateful I am to all of you who contributed, who took their time to send well wishes and support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am beyond humbled. I now exercise gratitude and humility every single day of my life because I'm so thankful for this second chance of life or at life. So thank you, thank you, thank you to everybody who donated. It means the world to me. And by that, I mean it has given the world to me in return. And so it's all about reframing the mind. And all of these realizations and actualizations in my life have led to me becoming max version 3,692. And by that, I mean 8,236,000, whatever. Point being, it's like I am on many iterations of Max Woodburn. And so today I sit before you a changed man, and I can tell you that I am humble and grateful. And I wake up every day with passion for life and an attitude that I set forth, and I do not allow people to fuck with that attitude, because you should not be riding the wave of emotions of other people. It is no way to live life, and you will constantly be stressed out. So you have to take control, and that starts with taking control of your mornings. Now, I want to acknowledge a couple other things. God's timing has been so fantastical in this whole debacle. The last 60 to 90 days have almost brought me to tears, and they have actually many times. But the way people are showing up in my life, the opportunities that are being placed before me, the entrepreneurial light switch that got flipped on, both as a metaphor and literally, are so insane. It's hard for me to put to words, and I'm gonna have to write a book on the 60 to 90 days that fully transform my life. And it's all due to God and the higher power blessing me. And those blessings are here for you too. And it's simply about putting good out, getting good back. Life is like a mirror. You see what you are, okay? So you need to understand that you got to have these foundational principles in your life. And if you don't today, it's something that can be worked on and built toward. And you can adjust day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, week by week, year by year. It doesn't have to be an overnight process, and it never is. But the right people keep showing up in my life, and the opportunities are being laid before me in such an incredible way that I can only attribute it to a higher power. I am here as a vessel, as a servant, as somebody who is willing to do the work, but I can tell you, I cannot put all of the pieces together. I can assemble a puzzle, but I cannot finish it, in the sense that without these integral components that are being laid before me, I would not be able to facilitate this journey. So I am here humbly with gratitude, saying thank you for the second chance or 100 millionth chance at life, because I almost messed it up many times leading up to the cancer. So I want to summarize with a few things, and I'll let you go for the day. You need to turn all of your opportunities and your wins into momentum. A big realization I have had is that it is a true thing that a momentum wave can be built and you can ride that wave. But you need to recognize what it takes to do that, or more so put that wave in place. And it's simply capitalizing, or more so using the opportunities and the things that show up before you by giving life your all and taking those things and blending them with your daily habits and your daily gratitude and your attitude and your humility. Those things are integral to building that momentum, which will allow you to ride the wave. And my goal is to ride the wave until the day I die. It truly is. I don't want it to ever disappear. And I think that if I keep showing up the right way for God and the people, I think that it will continue. And I know it will. And I know that you can do the same. You're powerful. Everybody's powerful. The mind is powerful. The drive of the human spirit is both intangible and exceptional and everything good and everything great. I promise you. So, in conclusion, in the morning, I want you to set your attitude. It should be unwavering and it should be positive and it should be, here is how I'm going to move throughout my day undisturbed. Do not allow yourself to ride the emotional wave of others because they are not in charge of their life. You have to be in charge of yours. And what that looks like in practical terms is you need to be fluid like water. You need to allow things to roll off you like water so that you can continue on your path that you predetermined that morning. And it is integral to remind yourself of it every day, but also throughout the afternoon and in the evenings. You need to remind yourself of those things so that you can continue that momentum and you can continue that unwavering attitude that will not allow you to be affected or more so pushed off of your path that you know is right for you today. As it relates to cancer, you need to eliminate convenience. And by that, I'm referring to not being a couch potato, not being a lazy POS, not prioritizing speed over whole foods and good for you minerals and vitamins and things that you can get from good foods if you take the time to cook them. And even if you don't, and I don't all the time, to be clear, but let's take Kava, let's take certain restaurants out there that do, at least to the best of their ability, prioritize, and I'm talking 80, 85, 90%, they have good foods. And sure, there's some hormones and whatever. The point is like you need to clean up your act and you need to really care about your health. And if you can cook at home, great. You can get organic stuff and you can wash it just to be sure that there is truly no pesticides or preservatives on it. That is what I would recommend for you to do. So it's all about building good habits on a daily basis. I can assure you, going on a set walk, a set hour in the morning or 30 minutes in the morning where you exercise gratitude, you stretch, you say thank you, you talk about your goals to yourself. Praying could be as easy as you having an open conversation and God hears it. You know, whatever we want to acknowledge the higher power as, they hear it, they understand, and they are with us at all times. And they, I mean he, and by he I mean her, and by her I mean Mother Nature. I mean, there's just so many ways to, or names to call these things. Some people it's Jesus, to some it's this and it's that. I think we need to get rid of the details that say, hey, no, it's this particular thing. I think we need to all just acknowledge the fact there's a higher power and it cares for us, and it really does. It wants the best for you. So you need to build these good habits on a daily basis where you prioritize your health via movement and whole foods, good nutrition and movement so that your body can allow itself to detoxify. On top of that, good sleep. This is something that I am ever working on improving. For me, 8 hours is a perfect night if I'm caught up on sleep. Now, if I'm not, and if I'm playing catch up, then 10 hours, 12 hours, and granted, you're not going to sleep all the way through that, but point being is like rest is critical, and if you ignore it for a certain period, it's eventually going to catch up to you. Just because you get 8 hours tonight doesn't mean you didn't sleep 4 hours every night the week prior and that you're not going to hurt even after the 8 hours. Now, granted, you'll feel better. The point is you need to build that good habit. You need to set a bedtime. You need to put the phone down. You guys like making fun of me for my glasses, which some people think are sunglasses, but they're blue light eliminating glasses. And the reason for it is it allows you to go to sleep faster. So when you have blue light, it disturbs, I'm not going to get into all the details, but it disturbs you in a way that will allow you to, or not allow you to fall asleep faster. So that's why I wear those. Good sleep is absolutely critical. Integrative medicine is absolutely huge. This whole deal with cancer and many other diseases is about beefing up maintaining and ever improving your immune system. It's absolutely critical for you to be in good health and good standing. I want you to know that on top of everything, again, the GoFundMe is not being touched. Somehow God has helped me align all of these things in my life. And by that, I'm referring to the people that have been showing up, the new hires I've been making, the traction I've been gaining in my business, the people like Jacob, who's here in the room, producing this podcast. You know, people just keep showing up in pure alignment. And it's the more I become in tune with the higher power, the more I express gratitude, the more fluid I am with my day-to-day and not allowing myself to ride the emotions of others. I'm telling you, you can get to a state of pure flow and pure alignment. I believe in you. I love you. I want the best for everybody that follows this podcast and my pages. And even more than that, I hope that whoever does not follow can, at least in part, get some snippet of this video, because all I ask from God is that at least one person changes their life off every single thing that I put out there. And if it's not until years later, a decade later, two decades later, that people finally tune back and start listening to this stuff and go, wow, maybe he kind of was onto something, then that's fine. You know, it's up to God. It's God's timing, divine timing, pure alignment, pure flow. I believe in all these things. I think they're staples, and I think that we can recognize and agree that when you exercise good habits, and you exercise period, you're going to realize your life can open up and you can eliminate so much of the shit that is holding you back. I believe in you. I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Episode 7 of the To The Max podcast. I'm out. Peace.